you will only ever fear your gift. And your gift is the reason you were born. You may not have recognized what that gift is, but I actually know that you have it. And if you were to recognize it and own it, then you would really live the life you want to have and you would become this wealthy person because, see, wealth and self acceptance are the same thing. And I had that experience yesterday, which is why I am sharing this video. It was a full moon yesterday, and I had a Wilhelm channeling session, and it was called Fulfilling Your Potential. That's really what it was about because it was a powerful one, and I had a lot of energy coming through. But something happened during the session. At the end of the session, there was a moment where we thought that maybe the recording didn't show up because maybe it wasn't recorded, and I was really kind of upset with that. And I go, what am I going to do? And then I know that there are no accidents that happen in our lives. We just don't understand it right away because it's always in our consciousness. So I pick up my phone and I just happened to look at my phone and there was an outgoing message on an email that had never gone. And I'm looking at it and there was a video there. I said, oh, is that what I'm supposed to see now? Is that what I'm supposed to share? And it is, because I want you to understand what you can accomplish and that you do have a gift. And my only fear was that I could see that in you. And I have always known that. And that was the thing I feared because it was in consciousness. But I'm going to share this with you because our world has changed and I have this information. And Wilhelm has given me all of this. And I'm never, I'm going to stop fearing my gift because I don't want you to do that with yourself because I know what yours is. That was the part for me that was challenging to accept, which I know why this video was just shoved in my face again. Because when you don't own yourself, the universe has this wonderful way of saying, here, now do it. And that's what you will hear in this particular video. And so, and I've already talked about this because what I'm doing now, and if you listen to the session from yesterday, you'll hear this as well, and I'll link that. But it's a time where we must embrace ourselves. Because see, self-acceptance and wealth are the same thing, because it's all energy. And that's why you were born. And I can always see and know that about you. But you will get so much more out of this now. So I'm going to leave this video. It was on August the 8th of 2022. But it will resonate with you today and it will help you on this day probably. Enjoy. If it's your first time here, please subscribe to the channel, share it with others, check out all the work, and you have a gift that's waiting to be developed now. See you soon.
Relax, let it go slowly. Fall into your body. Another big breath. Let it go slowly all the way down your body. Feel the groundedness. And one more. And we are ready to begin. And again, we are so pleased you're here, and we've waited for you your entire lives, and today you will understand what that means, even though we say it each time that we see you, and we see you at different times in your lives, and that is exactly what is happening for you today. You have shown up at a place where you knew you were going to be at some point, and that is why we've always used dates. Each of you do not understand completely or fully or accept completely that you have existed forever. You're eternal spiritual beings, and you come into the world at specific times in your lives, in your evolutionary journey, to perform a service. And that service that you're doing is causing yourselves to become more, causing yourselves, allowing yourselves to heal. And that is what this period is about. However, it's been tremendously difficult for so many because this has been a big one. We've told you this was a restructuring. None of you have experienced this, and it is taking a toll on so many, and it's taking a toll on your planet. And that's what we wanted to talk about. Now, we're going to go back to the beginning because we understand that many of you have not understood the connections that we have been giving you, because we wanted you to understand your connectedness, your reason for being alive. And so you each have different ways of understanding your journey, because you have one. You have a journey that you have been on, and it's an important one. It's vital. It's significant for you and for the world. And that's the part that you haven't put together quite yet, because you only thought that your life and all the things that you moved through were only about you, and they just were something that happened to you and it was wrong. No, you have done such a great job. And that's why we gave you the message 2 years ago that said, we are here for love, because that's what you are here for. You are in the world to be loved. And the place that you will be loved, the first place that you begin is with yourself. And we will go back to the beginning, because you didn't understand why we said we gave you information in 2012. We knew where you would be at this point. We knew where your world would be. And we wanted to give you time to kind of work through all of your misgivings about who you are, so that you could be powerful beings at this point. Now, we jumped out ahead because we decided to plan this. We had Roger plan this morning before the real energies of your Lionsgate portal start to appear, because that'll be later today. So we wanted you to get prepared. You might have felt many changes in your bodies, because there's so many energies that are going on, and throughout this entire week, however, you'll feel so much more of it. And those energies, when they're moving that quickly, it can cause you to become really fearful, and it causes your world to be that way as well. But your world is changing because you're here. You're here to bring in the new world. We said that's what your job was. That's what your role was. And you will create the balance that your world is needed. As we have said, the reason that this restructuring is occurring is because your world, over centuries, longer than that, over centuries, has gone off balance. This is why you're having all the events that are occurring in your world, all of the weather events, your diseases, your pandemics. You have so many of them. You have more coming, but you will move through them when you understand what they mean. They only mean that you are supposed to come together. You are on a journey, your individual journey, which is collective, you see. And the collective journey, which is always eternal as well, is about coming to oneness, getting all of you to understand that you will create a much better world when you decide to come to oneness, to remember your connection to source, to God, to Allah, to whatever, to Gaia, whatever term that you use. That's what you're connected to, and that's what you were supposed to remember and experience in this lifetime. Your lifetime is so vital to the salvation of your world. And we want to say that clearly. It's the salvation of your world, because as we've always said, the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. And you sit at a place right now where each of you will make a choice about what you're going to do with your life, and that's going to affect your world. That's the part that you haven't understood. So what we did, we gave you all of this work in 2012 so that you could move through all of your misgivings about who you were. You did things that didn't turn out right. You tried things that failed in your estimation. You suffered losses, many of them, and all of them were physical. That's what we wanted you to understand. Everything that has happened in your life on the physical level, the material sense, has nothing to do with who you are. You're a soul. You're an eternal soul, and you're going to always expand. But in that process, you have to move through your limitations and your restrictions. And this time in your world, you're moving through, as we've said, generational. This is your ancestral leanings that you've each had that you're bringing into the world now that you're supposed to transcend. That's transformation. You're supposed to transcend those now. That's why you're here. But that's why it's been a little challenging and difficult, because this is a great change that you're moving through. And you have choices. As we've said, you've each lived lifetimes where you might have memories of past lives or whatever, but most don't. But just understand that you have energies that are connected within you that you don't have a conscious awareness of. Roger has memories, but he doesn't have the conscious specific awareness of what those entities are. It's energy. When you understand that, it's all energy, everything. And so what you do is you use things in your physical world to cause you to become more, to cause you to awaken your soul so that you can create more and all that. You're each meant to live lives that are happy and fun and prosperous and abundant and all of that. And you might not have done that yet because you haven't come into who you are. Everything that we gave you was about guiding you to becoming your authentic self. You see, when your world shifts as it's doing right now, we need those individuals who are loving themselves, but you have to work through your stuff first, your individual restrictions, your individual limitations that you've had. They've been on your path, but they've probably been on the paths of your ancestors. Do you see? You bring forth things that you're meant to move through now. And this shift, as we said, is really about wealth and income redistribution, because then you'll take care of others, you'll take care of your planet, you will take care of yourself. That's the one thing that we want you to understand. This is about you. This is about you becoming more. Now, you will have in everything that we gave you in 2012 was to cause you to think in a new way. We gave you the concept of ultimate reality because we wanted you to understand that ultimate reality is where you evolve, where you spend eternity. Let's put it that way, where you always are. That is that place where there's no judgment, there's no differences, it's just spirit. That's all that it is. And you just use the physical plane, this earth plane, third dimensional life, to figure these things out, to feel, because you wanted to feel. See, you can't have a move into this expanded consciousness, this expanded awareness that where you always exist, where you always will be, unless you have some physical experiences that give you the opportunity, provide you with the opportunity to make choices. And the choice that you will make will be between love or fear. We've said that for everything. That's all you have. Love or fear. Now you can, if you go into fearing what is happening in your world, because there is a lot, then you're going to create more of it. This is why we gave you focused attention. Wherever you place your attention, you will cause that to become more because you're using energy. Your mind, your brain is producing these electromagnetic qualities that move energy. And now imagine if more of you were moving energies of love, first of all, with loving yourself again, and then coming together collectively and putting that together, yes, then you change your world. And that's what our plan was. We just thought we'd tell you. Because we gave Roger this information. We said, bring together people so that they can become their best selves. And then you will collectively put in an entirely new energy into your world and bring in the world that you all wanted to see, the one that you wanted to live in, where everyone is happy and prosperous and loving one another and creating something new. And that is the place where you are now. See, because you have to let go of the old, and you're going to have a struggle. And we told you you're going to have to choose. You're going to have a struggle because there are many who will not let go of the old, and they're going to be in your face, so to speak. And your job then is to decide that you're going to love yourself. And when you do that, you will see them in a new light. You'll see them differently. And then that healing starts to happen for all. Now, we're saying this because we know that you are here for love. You came to love yourself. You want to love others. You would not be attracted to us. You would not be listening to us in this environment, in this way, unless that were true. But it might have been challenging for you, especially recently, especially in the last several years. You're wondering what is going on and why are all these things happening all at once? They're happening for you. They're happening to cause you to get out of your way and start to love yourself and start to do what you came to this physical world to do, because you're not going to be here forever. You're not going to be in this form forever. You live forever. But in this physical life, you are here to create something. And what you will create, what you will do, will leave a legacy for you and your world. And it's a collective thing. Now, we must say that it's been challenging for Roger, just like it has been for you in certain instances, but for him, because he has this other memory, he knows what's going on and he can see what could occur. And so he has this difficulty trying to balance those two to cause you each to understand. And this is why he kind of yells at you and tells you to listen and come back, because he wants you to understand how much happier you could be if you understood who you were. That's really what it is. How much more enjoyable your physical lives would be. And you don't understand how vital that is, because if you give yourselves that, you change your world. You will do that. Now, it's going to take a while, as we've said. You have such divisions in your world now, which meant had to occur. And those divisions are going to be very clear for you, and you're going to have to choose where you're going to be. Now, we know where you probably will choose, but you need to be aware of the fact and make that choice consciously. Because when you make it consciously, it has much more power, much more ability to permeate the ethers, the world, and to get to others. That's what's going on. So, but you're going to go through this period, and it's going to look a little frightening to you sometimes, which is, again, why we gave you the work. Our work was only about getting you to move into this authenticity where you could love yourself, where you could feel so empowered and powerful that nothing going on outside in your world would ever affect you. You will appreciate it, you will see it happening, but you will know that it's not going to stop you from living your life and giving yourself this beautiful, magnificent life that you could have if you would do one thing, and that would be become yourself. That's it. Our only goal was to get you to become yourself. See, this is the pattern, this is the process, and we want you to understand. You move through all these things, you have these events in your lives, and you don't like some of them go wrong, you go in the wrong direction, you do all of those things, but you're exploring. That's what you wanted to have in the physical life. You wanted to have experiences, because you can't choose unless you have experiences. But the unfortunate thing is that you will judge those experiences, and you're always judging them from the past, always. Because you cannot know what your particular actions, whatever you did 20 years ago, you could not know how that was going to affect your life now and your world. You could not have known, because see, something that you labeled or judged yourself as screwing up or doing something wrong or whatever, you then figured it out, and you put that wisdom, that knowledge of what you figured out into your world. Even though you may not see where it went, it is there. It is absolutely there. We're going to give you a story, because this just happened the other day, and you all do this, and we want you to pay attention to it. Roger was asked to write a foreword for a book. He didn't know where this came from. Didn't have any clue of why this was happening. He just knew that he was so distracted in everything else he was trying to do that he forgot about it, and he kept putting it away. And then he started feeling guilty because he hadn't written it yet. And then he decided, well, wait a minute, I have to read the book first before I can do the foreword. And then he went back and he finally started to read the book, and he said, wow, this is brilliant. Why didn't I see it before? Then he went back and he did another search to see, where did this come? How did this start? And it was from someone who had just watched him on YouTube and was just so pleased and impressed with him delivering himself in an authentic way, that it gave this person the permission to do the same thing. And so then they took advantage of the pandemic, as we told you all to do, and they decided to create this book. And it was just brilliant. And Roger said, wow, I didn't know this. And he goes back and he sees the original message where this person was thanking him for his example. You each have done that. You have done that. You've judged yourself for something that you might have done wrong, but then the other things, you just completely miss them. You don't know the value, the contribution of what you're offering to your world, and it could make such a great difference if you decided to love yourself. Now, when we said we wanted you to become your authentic self, the way that we would accomplish that is to get you to stop your self-judgment. That's all. That is it's a process, though, because you have to deal with your human body and your mind and your chemicals that go on, because it takes time. You have power to use them, and you've studied your scientists and physicists and have studied so and learned so much more about how you form things, how you create worlds, and you'll have more when you get into quantum mechanics. You'll see it'll make even more sense as your world starts to put that together. Well, you're doing more of it now, especially with the new telescope. You'll start to find so much more of this vastness of your world, of your universe that you've never known of before. So you've never known of you. We want to say that you've never known of you. These times in your world have caused you to look within, and you're probably discovering things that you'd put away, you've ignored, or you didn't think were real, or whatever it was. No, they were. It was just that the timing wasn't right or quite yet for you to actualize them in your life. You each have these evolutionary plans that you're meant to move on, your divine plan. Everyone has one. It's not possible that you don't. You just don't recognize it at time. And then you compare yourselves to others. That's the other thing. You compare yourselves in chronological ages, which have nothing to do with your eternal soul and have nothing to do with ultimate reality. You know, the place where you're always existing, that's what happens. It has nothing to do with it. So in this journey that you're moving on, you just come up to certain places in your life at certain chronological ages, whatever they may be. But those are the perfect times where you were supposed to recognize something. When you listen to us, you will hear something. That was the perfect time for you to hear it. It has nothing to do with us. It's just that your higher self has directed you and guided you to put you in a position to hear something that could cause your life to be better. That's all that it ever is. You each have these guides within you, giving you direction, but you don't always listen. Roger did not listen to us. He fought us forever. We've said that. He didn't listen, and we've brought it out so many times. We just the other night, we had him download one of these conversations that he had not heard, and then all of a sudden, he's saying, wow, if everyone had heard this, they would feel so much better. Well, yeah, if they had heard it, if he wasn't holding himself back, like many of you have done, you see? And that's why this period is here, for you to like start to blossom and own who you are and develop the strength within your empowerment, your autonomy and sovereignty, where no matter what is happening in your world, you're going to know that you're growing, that you're evolving, that you're expanding, and you're creating, you're manifesting the life that you want to have, because you have that ability. Every single person does. You each come into the world with equal ability. We must begin there. You have equal ability. No other soul has anything more than you. Think about that. No other soul has anything more than you. As we've often said, that there's no hierarchy in souls. Now you create different levels in physical life where you have leaders and governments and this, that, and the other, but you're all the same. You just develop identities that cause you to feel a particular way about yourselves. That's all. And so if you were to form the identity, the belief, the idea that you were this powerful being, you would be. It's just as simple as that. However, it typically takes you moving through the work that we gave you to come to that realization, because you have been programmed, which was purposeful. You had to be programmed. You don't know who you are when you come into the world. You come into the world and you pick your parents and your families and where you're going to be and all of that, but you don't know how to navigate the world. So you learn from your environment. You learn from your ancestors. But your ancestors had limited awareness. Now you're supposed to take the wisdom that they did. Every soul gathers wisdom and puts it into the ethers, into the universe, so it is there. We told you that in the very beginning of our work. We said you have this infinite intelligence. You all have access to it. And so it's just at times where you allow it to come in and you start to believe it. Everything about your life is created through belief. Everything. What you decide to believe, you can start to manifest, because it's not about what is physically available that you can see. That has nothing to do with it. It is about how you're using the energies of your being. That's what it is. When you decide that I'm going to accept myself, that I'm going to love myself, that's a very different energy than, oh, well, I just screwed up everything. Doesn't help you. You screwed up because you wanted to learn. You wanted to develop something else. That's all that occurred, ever. And so, but we're really passionate about this, and we have been for the last several months, as you have known, because some of you aren't moving, some of you aren't understanding, and your world is going, and it's a little lopsided now. And so that's why we had to step things up, and we're going to do more of that. As we advised Roger, we wanted him to redo our give him, we, this is not true. We wanted him to give you all of the work that we gave in 2012, not just 1 month of it. We wanted all of it. And so, because you're going to be keep moving through this, you're not going to be done. You can see that. You're not going to be done, but it's a perfect opportunity for you now to develop this strength, this courage, this identity, because that's all that it ever is. It is not that you were weak. You have never been weak in your life. You have not. You just did not know who you were. There's a difference there. But if you label yourself as being weak, yes, you can create that because you're that powerful. But if you understand, no, you were just finding yourself. We say that. And we showed you that in one of our messages. We said, you are always working on yourself, always. Because there's no place where you stop, you see? There's no place, again, you measure things in these physical terms, because that's all you can see in your physical world. However, in your awareness and in consciousness, there's no limit to that. You can expand that as much as you want, as long as you believe and allow that belief to continue to grow. I want you to understand that that's why we gave you the message about progression, because you only do it a bit at a time, you see. And every message that we have given you in the last couple of years, you might have noticed that we would say, okay, we'll give you a little bit more tomorrow, because we wanted you to accept what you had, and then you start to feel different. And it's an ongoing process where you are looking at who you are and making a choice. And you are the only person who can make that choice. And the choice is going to be, again, between love or fear. Now, you must understand why we keep using that. Because, see, if you go into love, you're going to have everything that you want, because that means that you're taking care of yourself. You're loving yourself. If you go into fear, you're going to lose certain things, because of fear, you will answer that. If whatever you're fearing, you're going to bring it to you, just because your attention is there, your thoughts are there. And so that's what's going to happen in your world. We want to just give you a little heads up on that one, because you're going to see, again, all of this has been timed perfectly, because the world is going to change. It's not up to you. The only thing is, how long is it going to take you, and how much you are willing to suffer? Because that is a choice. It is always a choice. Suffering is only you resisting becoming yourself. And we will say, this is not to, we want you to understand, it's a process. You all move through it. And yes, it can be challenging at times, because it requires change. And because you don't find joy in change, because it takes you into this unknown that you've come to fear so much, and you do it in different degrees, each of you, but that's always there. So you have to understand that each step that you're going to take into the next part of yourself will give you a little bit of pause, so to speak, or a little trepidation, or you might hold back. That's okay. Allow yourself enough time to change your thinking, to change your brain, and where it becomes real. And then you will operate and live in that new you, because that is what you are creating now. And that is why you're here. And you wanted it to be powerful, because you wouldn't have picked this time to be alive unless you wanted it to be powerful. You wanted it to be big. You wanted to move through all the old stuff that you had in all those other lives, so you don't have to do that again. That's what's happening. And if more of you do that, you have a very different world. Now, you've seen that you just broke some really extraordinary records in your weather all over the planet. You have fires, you have extraordinary heat, you have flooding, you have everything. And you have it because you haven't taken care of yourself. Because you are that important. You If you take care of you, you would be loving, you would be doing so much more, and then you would pass that on to so many others, and then the ones in control, so to speak, of your governments and ones who can make things better in your environment, they would then start using their money in a different way. As we told you many, many months ago, you always struggle over money, power, love, and control. And we said that. All of it, and you've seen it happen. And we told you a while ago that this time was going to be more about women, because you need to embody that feminine energy, each of you. You have to have a balance of those male and female and feminine energies, masculine and feminine energies within you, to have a balanced you. Because see, you're always coming back to oneness, and oneness means there's no separation in gender. It just isn't. You've just made it that way. And you've done that from the beginning of time, which you've been on this planet, because you wanted to have control, because you thought that control would give you power. And you didn't understand that you already had the power. You didn't have to get it. And you didn't have to control others, but you've carried that behavior on throughout your societies, and you struggle, and you're in that place now where you're going to decide about that, because the shift that you're having right now is this choice between if you're going to choose a world where you're living in democracies or autocracies. That's really what it is. And you can see it happening everywhere. And your ideas about that will be important, because you're energetically putting that out. When we told you about women would be important, we did not know at that moment. We knew something was coming, but we couldn't have told you specifically that it was going to be the United States, starting with the abortion ban, eliminating that right for women. But again, it was something that was necessary, because now what's happening, so you judge things. That's why we said you don't know what's good or bad. So because now what's happening is that women have awakened. And they're going to come about, and they're going to start making a shift. This is why we wanted the women to hear the other recording that we did. We did several months ago, but we wanted you to hear it because now it might make more sense to you. That's what happens when you hear our recordings later. They make more sense because the events that we are speaking of have occurred, and now you can look at it and you can kind of believe it. That is the difficulty each of you have in your lives, because you have these visions of who you're supposed to be as well, but you can't believe that unless you have some proof. And Roger's the same way. We must say that, because see, he can get this information and deliver it to you, and he doesn't know what's going on until he goes back later and studies it and listens to it. It's the same for you. And so it's not about judgment of what you don't know or what you haven't accomplished. It's just understanding that you're just always on this journey of becoming more, and your judgment never helps you. It's going to be there though. And it's two things. So let's talk about it this way. Yes, you will have the judgment, but you've interpreted it as bad and wrong. This is why we want you to get rid of that terminology. You will have the judgment and you'll feel it, and that's a great thing, because it's the feeling, because it's uncomfortable feeling in your body is telling you that you did something that didn't serve your purpose. But now you've learned something. So instead of focusing on, oh my goodness, I did something wrong, wow, I discovered something new. Very different experience and very different energy. And then you feel different. Everything we gave you is this constant change of how you think about yourself. And then what happens over time, every day, you're a different person. And you feel so much better. That's why we had Roger write in the other night in a broadcast he sent out. We said, yes, he says, I'm feeling euphoric. And people are wondering, how is that happening? Because he's been doing this work. And that's a part of we understand that many don't understand, but he receives the information, but he has to move through it just like you do. It's no different. And it's very important for him to say that, because he wants you to understand he doesn't have anything more than you. He's just been practicing this in a different way. And then he does have a different life journey. And he also has, as we've said many times, this ancient memory, which we will expose more of that and show you a little bit more, because again, you need proof. And so we have a little bit of proof that we will publish. We'll have him publish that a bit later, but you all have the proof. And that's what we wanted you to understand, is that you have this wealth of information because you have history. You all have histories, you just don't remember them, but that history is connected to everyone who has existed within your lineage, within your evolutionary chain, within your soul family. And what you are doing now is that you are in the earth, on this plane, this physical plane, to move through all of the restrictions that those others had, so that now you can become more and help cause the new world, the future world, to become better. You can see that, you all can see that, you create certain things and then you start to outlive them so you can create something new. This morning we did something, nothing is by accident again. We had Roger watch a video where they put the 50s, the 1950s, if you can remember this. And he's watching this and yes, he has those memories. And some of them would be so hysterical to many of you because you're younger, and they would be so hysterical because you wouldn't believe some of the things that they used to do, the way that they used to operate. And it was a much simpler time in certain respects, but they had the same difficulties. You always have them, whatever iteration of civilization you happen to be living in, you always have those. But you are existing in this one. And this one is tremendous. And that's what we wanted you to understand. Now, when we gave you the message on the screen today, that was only 2 years ago, because we figured, okay, maybe they'll relate to that and they can remember then, and then you can see the things that your world has moved through. And so it gives a little more validity to what we had given you then. Now, because we knew we're having trouble with you understanding what we gave you in 2012. But see, that was just a continuation of a journey that your civilization has been on. And you have different points where it shows up, and this is one of them, but there were others. And we pointed out the 2012, and then also 1987. And then there were more before that. Because if you go back to 1918, you'll see some interesting things in there as well. So there's ways that you can track in linear time human development, but you don't know that before you come. You never know what you're going to be when you live a life. But it's ingrained, but because you chose it, you see. You chose your life experience because there was something that you wanted to develop. Now you wanted it to come out. You wanted it to manifest. But it takes some time. And so this is why you have done everything that you've done. You went to school to learn this, to bring back information and memories, or that you could assimilate and create something new. But you also, when you left school, you started doing other things. You went to your work and you did all of that, but then you started taking courses and going to counselors and doing that. Why would you do that? Because you knew that there was more within you that you wanted to get to, and that others had that information that could help you. That's why you did it. And this is why we did this with Roger, because we have given him information that was a recall from information he did have access to, but not in a conscious sense. But it is something that he knows now that it was meant for this time in your world. And there is no mistaking that, because it is helping so much. But we just want more of you to understand that so you can help yourselves. This is about you. This time is about you becoming your best self. And so much of it has been uncomfortable. And the only reason it's uncomfortable, and we're going to say this, and it's not going to make sense to you, but you will get it eventually, you have feared yourself. That's all. You have feared yourself because, see, we said each of you have everything you need. You have all the abilities, you have all of that. The only thing you have done is trained yourself into thinking something different. And that is a thing that because you're in a physical form, you're in a physical body, there's no getting around the way that you change that. You have to go through it. And we will say that not all of you will do it. And we're not necessarily speaking to the ones who would hear us here, but you have seen the others who had said, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's just much easier for me to kill myself. So if I get out of this physical body, then things will be okay. That's not true, by the way, but that's what you think at certain times. And so you'll do that. But everything that you have the ability to manifest absolutely anything. And when you understand that if you do it collectively, it will be even more powerful. Now, the reason this is all occurring in your world is because the separation worldwide, it's not just in one country or another, worldwide, the separation has been so vast. And you're going to see in the next several days, and it's already begun, more conflicts in different countries that are happening. You've seen a little bit in the Middle East, but there are other places that many of you are not aware of, that you have not seen, but the same thing is going on because, see, the spirit of man is universal. You feel everything universally. That's what goes on. And so what you are experiencing and feeling, you're putting it into the universe, and that's helping creation. So it becomes very vital that you're putting something in that is going to be of love. It's going to be of light, of kindness, of acceptance, of all of that. But you've got to give it to yourself first. And all we did was give you the tools to be able to accomplish that, because we knew that would be the most important thing in this time in your world, if more of you would do that. And there are many on the planet who are already doing it. We're so thrilled because there's so many groups that have come together, many you would not know of, that have come together in different parts of your world who are saying, we're going to start bringing in a new energy. And we know that if we bring in this light energy, it's much more powerful than any sort of darkness that could ever exist, because darkness is only an absence of light. That's all. Darkness, that's all that it is. Now, but everybody doesn't come to know that. Not all souls will know that during this life. And some are you living an experience this time, or living a lifetime this time, where they are going into or using more of their darkness, because that was on their evolutionary journey. They will work through it, because eventually you all get to the same place. That's why we've said so many times, all your evil folks that you have thought of, they all get to the same place you do, because you're trying to get back to oneness, you see. And then that oneness, you come to understand, oh, there's no separation. There's no differences in humans. We just come together for a reason. You come together and you have the differences because the only way that expansion can happen in your world is if you put in new things. And you are the new thing, you see? Your energy, your unique configuration of who you are and everything about you in your past was needed to put into the world now so that it could become more. And we love our baking cake analogy, because we used that before. And then someone, which we've mentioned to you in a workshop that Roger had attended, they started with saying that, using the cake thing. And Roger sitting in the audience, and he said, when they were done, he goes, have you ever used that before? And she goes, no. And so then he pulls out our message and he reads it to her. And he says, she mentioned she didn't have a speech to talk about the work that she did. He said, here, take this. That's what it is. Yeah, we've done that a lot. We've even done that with many of you in terms of your birthdays, because we thought that would give you more connection to who you are. If you could see that, oh, wait a minute, they told me information about myself in 2012 on my birthday so that I would remember it. Yeah, that happens. We've had so much fun with that one, because it kind of blows you away. But again, the point of that was to get you to understand that you are so connected. You've been guided to everything that you've done, and everything that you've done has been wonderful. We know you don't accept that, but it has been, because what you thought you suffered through, you actually created something better for those who are coming later. That's just what happens. That's the way that humans operate in this world. Now, you have many other things that you're going to start exploring and understanding, and more of your world, your scientists are starting to even expand the universe and seeing more things, as we've said, because you have beings that exist in other places that you don't know about, but that's not your focus necessarily now. But what your focus is on this, your earthly plane, because if you don't do your job, you're not going to leave something great for those who are going to come later, and especially those of you who are parents, or who know people who are parents who have kids. You want them to have something better than you, but you are here to make it better than your ancestors. You see, that's why you are alive. And so, yeah, it might have been challenging, might have been difficult. You might have lost a lot of things. You might have gone through some horrible, scary things, and all those scary things were perfect. We know that doesn't make sense, but it was. Roger was working with someone the other day, last week. Not working with, but she asked for some healing work. She was going in for brain surgery. We might have mentioned this in one of our things. He might have brought it up, but and Roger said, no, I see it completely. I can see what's going on. I know it's all fine. And then she then wanted to have a conversation. They did. They chatted a bit. He gave her what we sent it to her about the outcome that we saw. And then now the doctors are wondering, how did this happen? Now she pulled together a whole healing circle to pull around her to bring this in of like-minded people, the energy that she knew would help all of this. And so then the other day, she's like, wow, miraculous. The tumor wasn't gone, but it wasn't what it was, but the tumor is now gone completely. And then the doctors are wondering, how is she getting up and moving so quickly and coming out of the hospital so quickly, because she's home now. You have limitations that they only exist in your thinking. They're only in your mind. And so this is why we wanted you to understand. You're going to look at your world and think it's impossible to change this. It is not. We heard Roger see something last night. Well, and we've told you this. He just needed validation just like the rest of you. But he saw a scientist speaking about their climate change. He says, no, there is hope. Because if you decided to get together and do these things, you could change it. We've got to get going now, though, they said. And that's why it's important. And that's why we've had the anxiousness of getting you to going. Now, again, none of this matters, though. You could leave, you could have your planet destroyed. You would still exist. But we don't think that's what you want. We don't believe that's what you really want. You want something better. You want something better for your life right now, but you also want something better for those who come later because you care about them. We know that because that's who you are. That's why you came to be loved, you see. But it's been challenging. In periods of your life, we're going to say this too, because there are so many of you, and we could feel this. There's so many of you who have done so much for others in the past, and you felt like you never got anything for yourself, and that was true, because now you're supposed to. That's exactly how it worked. No, you did so much before. You were sacrificing, you were giving, and you gave to them, but you were giving to yourself. You just didn't recognize that. It may have felt like you were just giving everything to everyone else, but that's not possible because, again, you're all one. So whatever you're giving to them, you are giving to yourself. The only difficulty for you, however, is that you have not actualized, you have not acknowledged, and you have not put that into your being. That's why we told you the story about Roger. He didn't go back and look at that one message that he received months ago that was giving him praise. This has gone on his entire life, so you might have done that as well. But now is a time that all of you are meant to shift that paradigm within yourself so you can shift it within your world, because otherwise you will not have the life that you want, and you won't have the world that you want to see, as we have said. But it is a time, this shift that is happening, and you're going to feel much more energy about this later on today, because it's going to keep moving, and you're going to see the working of it, but it's perfectly arranged. It's a galactic shift that is happening, and it's perfect, and it's going to conclude, and we're bringing up something on the 11th that's going to bring even more of that about, because we want you to understand what we have given you. We want you to understand what you have available that you could use to cause your life to be the thing that you want it to be. But again, you're going to have to be patient with yourself, as you're going to need to be patient with your world, because none of you change instantly. We have Roger do so many things, and he gets frustrated. We have to pull him back because he's posting things, he's putting things out. He says, I want them to listen, I want them to pay attention, and you will never do that until you're ready. You just won't, because it's an internal thing. You'll get frustrated at a certain point with your life and your life experience, and then you'll start to be forced to look at something. And many of you did that during the pandemic, however, because that's why you changed. That's why you started doing something different, or that's why those old memories of who you were, what you were meant to do in this life, they started to arise then, because you were shut down for a while. You had to be quiet. And that's why your meditation will do the same. And we've given you a course on that too. We gave you Roger's explanation. Ours was quite different than many of the other things that you were out there. We want to talk about that too. Our work is quite different than anything that you will find out there, because we take on one premise, and that is just guiding you to become who you are. We never tell you what to do, because you know that. You just don't know how to find it. That's all. You don't know how to access it, and you just don't know how to give yourself time and permission to change, to allow it to assimilate into your being. That's all. So, and we have one thing that we see. There's a premise that we have. There are no insignificant people. None of them. Every single person has this amazing significance that they were born to bring into the world. There's no, and you just only make different choices about that because you've judged yourself. But you are so significant and you have so much to offer the world if you would understand what it was. And all we do is take you on this self-discovery exploration. That's it. Because when you do that and you're willing to do that, because it's challenging at times, you have to become vulnerable. And most of you just want to put your head in the sands and not look and think everything will go away if I don't look. It never happens. And then you just go and you keep doing things over and again. This is why we had Roger change the program's name to Your Last Development Program. Because see, there's nothing different that you would do anywhere else. Nothing different. And you just don't do it. That's all. So, but the thing is, you have to every day consistently decide, I am going to reassess and reprogram who I am so that I can become who I've always known I could be. That is all you're ever doing. And no one has any more ability than you to accomplish that. It's just if you are going to decide that you're going to do it. It's always a choice. And you're going to have plenty of opportunities to make that choice as you move forward in your world. So we're combining all of this. Many people out there and spiritual teachers and all that who don't go into all of the things that are going on in your physical world because they stay in that realm. That is not what Roger's doing. And he's done quite the opposite, actually, because he kept all of his spiritual things kind of separated in his earlier life. That's why he had the businesses and did all of that. However, and he stayed away from all of that. But now he knows that this part in his life, it's got to change. He has so much that he understands now that he has to get it to a much larger audience. That's in his DNA. That's what he has to do. You each have something. But he must take this to a much larger audience because that contribution will be something that will help shift your world. And when you don't understand your significance, that you have the power to do that, then you don't. And we're saying that because there are many leaders who have come about, and you see them, you watch them all the time. You hear them all the time. There's one that we want to talk about. There was a summit that Roger watched a bit of with Tony Robbins and Dean Cielo, what his name, and they are these mentors, and they had so many people on the stages, and they were great. And what they did was they sat there, and all these people, thousands of people, watched them over this time, these 5 days. But you're just watching. And then some of them bought their program. Some of them got their program. And then they gave them all of this stuff in the program. There's so many bonuses and so many things that you can do. And you listen to these people, listen to those people, and you spend your time doing that and you don't get anything else done. And then most of the time you don't do any of it. How many programs have you gotten that you put away? And you say, I'm going to get to that eventually. He's like that book that I'm going to read eventually too. All of those things that you put away. Oh, but the thing I'm going to do myself, I'm going to write this. No, you put that away as well. And so what we wanted was to get you something that you could own, that you could change from an internal permanent basis. That's it. Internal permanent, because that's the only way that it becomes real. There is not a single soul ever born who did not possess the talent, the ability, the skills, the information, the wisdom, the knowledge to manifest a magnificent life. And so that means you. The only thing is you've just been making different choices, and now it's a time where you must make and you want to make new choices. As we go on, we're going to continually talk about how important it is to move forward, because we can feel the energies in your world are really tense, and so we're bringing in a different balance, which is why, and we knew 2 years ago, we had to tell you we came to be loved, because we wanted you to know that's what this is about, and that's what you're about, and that's why you're listening to us. And if you come to this place where you start becoming willing to let go of your self-judgment, you will start to become love. And that's going to make the hugest difference, the biggest difference in your life and in your world. And that has been our work. That is why we gave it to you. That's why 2012 was important. Now we're going to tie together something else. We said that you were correcting things, and so many of them, not adjusting, would say, correcting as a human thing. You're adjusting things so you could get to a higher level of ascension within your life and within the world. But you can't do that unless you have a reckoning of things that you've done before. And that's the part that many of you put aside. And your world has done that too. And but now you're not going to get away with that. None of you, and your world doesn't either. Otherwise, you don't expand. And so we told you there's certain incidents that happened in 2012. There were many of them. One was a school shooting. And then what happened as a result of that, and so many kids were killed. And you've all seen it, and mostly have heard about it. And so, but then what happened is that someone took that and decided to make it a personal mission to make money. That's not going to happen anymore. That's going to change, because the other day this person had to pay some $40-some million now for lying. We told you many months ago that if you're going into truth, you're probably going to do really well. If you're going to go into deception, you're going to have a little bit of trouble, because that's where the universe is moving, you see. That's where the world is moving. So you must come into alignment with that energy, and that alignment is within you, and it only means that you own yourself, because you would never need to do anything illegal or deceitful or any of that, and to get money to stay on this physical plane, because that doesn't mean anything anyhow. You have to remember, you're here to develop your soul. You're here to expand your soul and your consciousness, and that's all that's going on. And everything that's occurring in the world is allowing you to do that if you choose to believe it, and if you choose to allow yourself to become more. And yes, that is what you do. You allow yourself to become more, because most times we are holding back and just deciding, oh, it's not me. And we've gone over that many times. So it's better though. It's getting somewhat better. Many of you are doing that. So what we're going to do, we're going to have many other, we'll announce what will come up in the future, because again, it's going to be a little challenging in a few months. And that is where the guidance and the understanding will be necessary. But we were saying we can see what will happen. We can see it next year and the year after that. But you'll see that if you start to do this little bit of movement, you'll accelerate things, not only in your life, but in your world as well. And we will always help in that effort, because that's all that we've ever been doing. So we would like to see if there are any questions, any explanations, anything that any of you would like to bring up.
No, I think we are complete.
Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all so very much. And please listen to this again. You will get the information. It'll seep in at the time that it is right for you, because you're on a journey that your guides are helping you to understand. And if you go in that direction, you will have everything that you want. And we love you so much.